Good morning, Year 6. It is Tuesday the 9th of February and today we are looking at our second poem of the week. So today we are going to be interpreting language used in a poem to explain the meaning. And today we are reading the poem called Spinner. So I'm going to read you the poem and then we'll do a little bit of read aloud, think aloud and talk through the questions that you will be doing today. Okay, so Spinner. Secret and swift, light and small, the spinner rakes my garden wall to wall. Foreshadowed caves between the stones and leafy holes within the hedge, a guttering tunnel dark and damp, an empty pot on a window ledge. Each greyish, brownish, blackish place is laced with threads too fine to see. I have my secrets, Spinner says, and waits expectantly. Cold dark comes, frost lies white, thickens over my garden until the night thins and day begins. Suddenly, under the primrose sun, Spinner's secrets known, every webbed and shadowed place, beautiful with diamond lace, is shown. And that poem has been written by Gwen Dunn. Now, if you hadn't already picked up, this poem is obviously about an animal, and Hawking class, you will know Miss Airy is facing her fears because this poem is about a spider, a garden spider. And this links to your first question today. It says, this poem is about a spider. What evidence is there to prove this? So in a moment, when we do our read aloud, think aloud, we're definitely going to be looking at the references to this creature being a spider. How has the image and the verbs and the description, how has it all been used to describe the spider? Okay, my least favourite topic, my least favourite animal, as my class know. Okay, so we'll start with some read aloud, think aloud, and you have space around your poem to do the same. You can either do this with me or do this after you've seen the video. That's completely up to you. So, spider, spinner. This word keeps coming up, secret. I'll keep circling it as we go through, but I'd like to talk about why we have these secrets, why this spider is holding a secret. We'll talk about that in a moment. So secret and swift, light and small. Well, all of this is describing the spider. It's telling me it's small, and swift means quick. So I know it's telling me that it's small and it's quick. The spinner rakes my garden. Now that is a really good verb. The spinner rakes my garden. Now that doesn't mean with a garden rake. It's not raking up dead leaves on your grass. The spider rakes my garden wall to wall. So if you read the whole thing, that's actually meaning that the spinner is moving. So it's moving across the garden. So I'll just pop that in there. Ooh. And if it's moving wall to wall, it's moving across the garden. It's quite a busy creature, this spider. Now the description here is really, really powerful, and there's a big chunk of description which you're going to be asked about in a moment with your questions. Foreshadowed caves between the stones and leafy holes within the hedge. Now I like that it's called, that the poet, Gwen Dunn, that she has used the term shadowed caves between the stones. Now a cave for us would normally be quite a big opening in the side of a cliff, but for a small spider, for a tiny spider, the cracks or the gaps between stones would be caves. So this is to do with size. gaps between the stones are large for the spider. And I really like that Gwen Dunn hasn't just said, oh, the gaps between the stones. She's called them shadowed caves, because that also, the fact that she's used the word shadowed, tells me that they are dark. And that tells me something more about the spider. Leafy holes within the hedge, a guttering tunnel, dark and damp, an empty pot on a window ledge. So all of this here is some great, powerful description describing the places where, sorry about my typing, year 6, where the spider makes a web, where it chooses to live. We've got here is laced with threads. So laced and threads. That makes me feel like it's talking about needlework almost, like sewing with fabric, which is quite interesting. And too fine to see, obviously, that means it's small. Well, not small so much, I'd use the word thin. So fine, thin, hard to see. I have my secrets, and it's that word secret that comes up again. I wonder what that means for our spider. So I might say here, what secrets? Now I want to talk about this section now. I'll just change the colour of my pen. There we go. This suggests a change in time. Okay, so if we have a look here, cold dark comes, frost lies white, thickens over my garden until the night. So this is telling me that turn to night time. And here, until the night thins. And that's a really clever way of saying that morning has come. The night has thinned, day begins. So it's telling me here that morning has come. And then again, it refers back to secrets. It says, suddenly under the primrose sun, again, really nice description of the sun. I wonder what colour that suggests it is. Primrose sun. The spinner's secrets are known. So I wonder what those secrets are. And it's referred to that 3 times. So that's something that when you do your read aloud, think aloud, I'd really like you to ask questions about that and maybe answer them. So now we've done our read aloud, think aloud activity, what I'd like you to do is go to the questions that I've asked you, and I will go through those with you now. So green and blue group, you have a few questions here to look at. So how do you know this poem is about a spider? Well, I've already talked a little bit about that. One thing I haven't done, and I would like you to think about the word spinner. We haven't actually talked about the title here. Why is it called a spinner? And that might help you to try and explain your answer to that. Can you find 5 words to do with darkness in the first verse? What sort of places does the spinner look for in verse 1? Can you find 2 examples? And again, this is where I want you to try and explain this. I have my secret, spinner says, and waits expectantly. What is the spider waiting for? What 2 changes take place that give the spider's secrets away? I started to talk about that when I did my read aloud, think aloud. Around this area, this is where the change comes. So have a little think about how you might answer that question. And then the last line of the poem is shown. What would you see if you were there?